Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Legends of Tomorrow Season 3. Now this is going to be my review for Episode 9, otherwise known as the mid-season finale, otherwise entitled Bebo, the God of War. So obviously before we go ahead, there will be spoilers in this review for this episode, but going forward and some stuff that happened recently. Seeing this is the mid-season finale, there is a couple of things which make you go, okay, what's going on here? So if you haven't noted or haven't watched it, might I say, go watch it, then come back to this review or video later on. So obviously last episode being the crossover, this is the first time I'm actually going to mention events from the crossover in regards to another show playing out. We obviously had the death of Martin Stein and essentially the death of Firestorm on Legends of Tomorrow. Very emotional, and yeah, obviously that was going to play a massive part going into this episode. We'll talk about maybe the massive negatives of that going forward. But yeah, we had that, and then in episode 7 we had Gorilla Grodd, the Gorilla Grodd episode where essentially he joined Damien Dark, Kawasa, and Malice's whole team. But I didn't think episode 7 was the most amazing. I did think it was just some setup leading into the crossover, just set up some stuff going forward in the season. So there wasn't really too much to mention from the episode before the crossover. But essentially this episode starts in 1992 where we meet Martin Stein, and I was like, okay, what the hell? Now in this part he's actually meant to be like 46. He does not look like 46, this dude. He looks like maybe late 20s, early 30s at the most. So I'm surprised they didn't recast him or at least make him look a bit older. He didn't look like he was in his mid 40s at all, but what are you going to do? But essentially he's at a toy store, I think it was Christmas Eve, I want to say, getting a Furby essentially, but they're calling it Bebo, to just, not call it a Furby, I guess. But essentially he gets put back into the time of the Vikings. I think it's like the New World, I think that's what they were calling it. Yeah, so the time of the Vikings in Finland, and essentially him being there causes the Vikings to rule more than they should. Now, one thing which I thought, wow, I was like, what the hell are they doing here, was when the Martin Stein puppet came up with Citizen Cold. Citizen Cold joined the Legends following the crossover. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. But he stuck around on Earth 1 following the, coming over from Earth X to help with our heroes on Earth 1. So he stayed around to stick with the Legends just to help them out with numbers. But he tries to do some weird type of counseling with the Martin Stein puppet. And I didn't find this funny. I just thought it was really just bad, really bad. And if you really like the Martin Stein character, you just felt like this was, I know Legends can be really silly, and I like the fact that it's silly. I don't think it should be taking itself too seriously. But there's being silly and then there's being stupid, and I think this was just stupid. Not a fan. If you liked it, fair enough, but for me, nah, I think it just failed right from the get-go. And as soon as I saw it happening, I was like, can we move on? It just stretched on a bit too much. So yeah, wasn't the biggest fan. Now, was I the only one that thought that Bebo reminded them of Funzo from The Simpsons? Does anyone remember that episode of The Simpsons when there's the Furby ripoff, Funzo, but it makes everyone go crazy and they treat Funzo like a god? That was basically what Bebo was, so I thought that was pretty funny. But essentially, the first half of this episode, wasn't a fan. I actually really didn't like it. Actually, it was in contention for being the worst Legends episode in recent memory. I did not like it at all, and it was really the back half that was half decent, that sort of redeemed it, but didn't redeem it enough. And that's when we see Damien Dark return with his daughter Eleanor, or Nora, whatever you want to call her. And Damien Dark is Odin. I don't know if this is a nod to Thor Ragnarok coming back. I know Odin and Thor are actually Norse mythology, but I thought it was just okay, Thor only came out a month ago and they're bringing this episode out with the Vikings and stuff like that. But I just thought it was pretty funny that Damien Dark was Odin. I sort of did like the storyline they had with Citizen Cold trying to fix Mick. Citizen Cold didn't feel out of place in this episode. I just don't think they utilized him properly, but one part I did like that they used him for was him trying to connect with Mick, because his Mick was so different on Earth X, but also Mick is well, you're so different from my Leonard Snart, because Leonard Snart was so different compared to this Captain, or Citizen Cold, might I say, from Earth X. So I did like the parallels they were going for there, where Citizen Cold thought Mick was mad different and trying to help him, but Mick was well, you're really different than my Leonard Snart, who didn't try to do that to me. He just accepted me for who I was and sort of liked me for who I was. So it was the good what they were going for, but that was probably the only part I actually liked about Citizen Cold. So hopefully the next episode with him is much better, and I think it will. One part I actually did really like in this episode was the hypothetical plans that was going through Sarah's mind. So you saw it happening, and then Sarah dies, and it's what the hell? And I was oh no, it's a hypothetical plan. So they're going through it in their head and just imagining what it's going to turn out like. So I thought that was actually pretty cool what they were going for, and then eventually one of them relatively worked out how they planned it to go. So the Legends actually planned out something pretty well for once, which is a big change. But the biggest moment for this episode was probably when Sarah sees Malice. Like, Sarah has seen Malice now. We didn't see him. We saw his hand from the reflection of her eye, but Sarah's seen Malice. So I wonder what's going to happen next episode going forward with him, because apparently in episode 10, we have finally meant to see Malice in some form. We're going to see some form of him, which I'm really, really excited for, because, we've been teased in him since episode 1. That's when he was first dropped. So it's going to be cool to finally see him. I'm interested to see what he looks like. I was hoping we would have seen him in this episode, even though we technically did. We saw his hand in the reflection of Sarah. But I am actually interested to see what his actual form looks like, whether he's massive, whether he just looks really weird, or he just looks really threatening. I'm excited, and hopefully you guys are as well. But another storyline around this episode is obviously because we had the younger Martin Stein. We had Jax and Stein once again interacting, and Jax attempting a loophole, which I think Zari helped him with, where essentially he would get this Stein, give him a letter, tell him not to open it until around the dates that the crossover happened, and tell him how to avoid his death and what not to do to stay alive. But, Stein doesn't want to do that. He, accepts his death. He goes, I'm going to be almost 70 at that time. I would have lived my life, and it's time for us to, to move on after that. Which I thought was actually a smart way. I thought that was, that is a Martin Stein thing to do, and it does compare to what we saw him do in the crossover. So it's good that they didn't change what Stein would have been like. Like, Stein would have been like, yes, I'm going to take that advantage, or take this, notice and avoid my death. Like, Stein accepted his fate, which I thought is very much like what the older Martin Stein would have done. So I thought that was actually good, not connective tissue, but just good consistency with the story. It just would have been weird if Martin changed it up completely. But with Victor Garber leaving the show, they can always just do this with a younger Martin Stein if they ever want to bring Stein back on the show, because I think the guy that plays the younger Martin Stein does a good enough job. I think he does capture what Victor Garber puts into the Martin Stein character. So if they ever want to do anything else with Martin, they can just use this younger version if they want to. But due to this, we do see Jax leave the Legends. I don't know if this is for good. Apparently it's for good. The actor has left Legends completely. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. I thought the departure didn't work that well. But it's sad to see Firestorm completely gone off the show. I don't think the people that fund the show wouldn't mind too much, because it's an expensive thing to do. But yeah, I wonder if he's going to come back. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. But then the episode ends with Constantine showing up. Now, we knew he was going to appear in this episode, and I was just wondering, okay, when is he going to show up? And he shows up right at the end, leading on to next episode. So next episode, episode 10, is really the only episode Constantine is in, because you can't really count this episode as Constantine, helping out, even though it was really cool to see him show up. And essentially, he needs help with a demon, and we did a demon controlling a young girl. I did see the promo for next week. I haven't really looked through it too completely properly. I just watched it when I was, watching the episode. So I just sort of saw slightly what was happening. Looks like they're going for a horror, almost like a horror comedy. Obviously some horrific stuff with the whole exorcism and a demon and stuff like that. But they're going for some comedic stuff as well. So it should be good. I'm excited, but we have to wait about a month for it. So that's a bit annoying. But at least it's Constantine. It's something to look forward to. And just this episode in general was a bit up and down. Yeah, but as I said, overall, this episode was a bit up and down. I thought that the first half of the episode was just really bad. If you liked it, I might be in the minority here. I just didn't really enjoy it. I was watching it, I was like, yeah, this isn't too good. I think they were just trying to be a bit too silly, which ended up being a bit stupid. It just might be me, I'm not too sure. But I think the back half helped a bit more when they were setting up some Malice stuff. They did wrap up the Jackson Stein storyline, which I think was nice. There was some nice moments there. And then obviously John Constantine popping his head in and going, yo, demons, where you at? Need some help. So it was really cool seeing that. So I think the back half of this episode was much better than the first. But yeah, due to the first half being how it was, I can't really say this episode was good, which is pretty disappointing because I did like a lot of stuff happening in the back half. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it would be awesome if you could drop a like and it show your support. Let me know in the comment section down below what was your favourite part of the episode. Do you agree with me? Did you find the first half of the episode, might I say, just a bit disappointing and just a bit stupid in some areas rather than silly? Silly is good because that's what Legends goes for. But then but then there's stupid, which, it's when Legends goes a bit too far. And I think that's what they did in this episode in regards to the first half. So just not really disrespecting, but just not going for what they should have been going for in regards to what happened in the crossover with Martin Stein's death. It just felt like they were just, trying to be stupid rather than actually being good. So yeah, but the back half of the episode, as I said, was decent. So hopefully you guys agree with me on that. So you just let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you hated. Just let me know in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.